we're just getting, to skim the surface of what is in Hunter Biden's now confirmed laptop 2 years later. More about Joe Biden's brother being involved, more about Joe Biden himself being involved, the individuals that now we know about, the recommendations to college to some of these Chinese businessmen. But the media, remember, still kept the lid on this for 2 years and decided, you know what, we're just not going to cover it. And there was a question yesterday at University of Chicago. David Axelrod, former Obama chief of staff and advisor, Democrat strategist, who's at University of Chicago, it was hosting a forum for students with Ann Applebaum, who's a staff writer for The Atlantic.
Right.
Student asked a great question. We're going to play it for you right now. The response is just, it is absurd. Take a listen, Byte 36.
So in 2020, you wrote, those who live outside the Fox News bubble do not, of course, need to learn any of the stuff about Hunter Biden, referring to his laptop, of course. A poll later after that found that if voters knew about the content of the laptop, 16% of Joe Biden voters would have acted differently. Now, of course, we know a few weeks ago, the New York Times confirmed that the content is real. Do you think the media acted inappropriately when they instantly dismissed Hunter Biden's laptop as Russian disinformation? And what can we learn from that in ensuring that what we label as disinformation is truly disinformation and not reality?
I mean, my problem with Hunter Biden's laptop is I think totally irrelevant. I mean, it's not whether it's disinformation or, I don't think the Hunter Biden's business relationships have anything to do with who should be president of the United States. So I don't find it to be interesting. I mean, that would be my problem with that as a major news story.
First of all, that laptop's pretty darn interesting. I mean, for a lot of different reasons. Rick, you've got Hunter Biden's drug use on there. You've got business deals. I mean, it's interesting. If you're a reporter, it's tough to look away from that laptop. Let's all be honest. But right away, the idea that it's irrelevant to who's president, when the big guy is mentioned in it, and I mean, I just see how Donald Trump's kids have been treated, still are being treated by committees in Congress going after them. Yep. The idea that this is still the talking point by the media, Rick, that I just don't care about this laptop. I don't want to know what's in it.
I think it's time that we kind of move Ann Applebaum from a reporter or journalist into the activist category, because third world propagandists have nothing on her. She literally just told the world in the most elitist way that she is covering for Joe Biden and the Democrats. She's done this. We've all known this. You see her writings, and she is a third world propagandist of the highest degree. I am not sure how she is allowed to be presented in front of students as someone who is not anything but a left-wing activist. And shame on David Axelrod for allowing this one side to be told to the students without telling the other side. What has happened to our universities? Why aren't we able to have a thoughtful discussion, present both sides, and let students, let university kids develop their own viewpoints? David Axelrod is part of the problem when he presents information to students that's totally one-sided, coming from the Democratic Party mouthpiece.
I'll tell you why that doesn't happen, Rick, and that is, and I've done this, and I know you have too, the universities, which used to be deemed the marketplace of ideas, this is the place you would meet, and you'd have different viewpoints, and you'd argue those viewpoints out, and the students would ask questions, and they could even be aggressive questions. But it's not that anymore. It is now a hotbed of discontent. So that when you go to a university, which who would go to anymore? I mean, why would you put yourself through this? I mean, everybody's had this experience, I think, to one degree or another. You're invited in to speak. You're heckled out. Now, I didn't get heckled, but I had the most obnoxious questions. And I basically said, I am your guest. And this is the way you're treating your guests. But it's irrelevant because it's just the way it is now. Now, let me ask you on the follow-up on this. I don't understand for the life of me, and you've been in the government world as a long time as I have, how the media could just we said this on the Durham stuff yesterday. It was a big filing in the Durham case, right? So the New York Times puts it on page 815 with a headline you couldn't even, in fact, the headline sounded like Donald Trump was in trouble when it was actually about an indictment for the Clinton campaign's lawyer. And they get away with this.
I think that it's high time that we completely dismiss all of these DC types who are never going to change. Let's be honest. The Ann Applebaums of the world, the New York Times, the Atlantic, all of these papers, all of this content is literally third world propaganda for the Democrats. We know this. Why do we pound our heads asking them to change? I think what's best is that we out their hypocrisy, we dismiss them, and then we look to get the real story out in different ways. We cannot rely on them any longer. We have to be able to get the truth out in other forms. And that's why I think, look, this is a shameless plug for ACLJ, but I'm telling you that if you don't have the ability to fund content creators like ACLJ, then you are going to rely on the CNNs, the APs, and the Ann Applebaums of the world to spin false stories. This is why 2 years later, we're still talking about whether or not this story is true. And 18 months later, we're still having reporters deny Hunter Biden's laptop is relevant content. And so I say we dismiss them, stop paying for their paywalls, and start supporting content creators like ACLJ. This is something that you get for free, but you should give, and you should make sure that we have the voice and we have the ability to really push out the correct content, the truth.
Yeah, folks, you can support our work at aclj.org. We got a matching challenge right now this month of April, so you can double the impact of your donation. As Rick said, I'm part of what we do. We've got attorneys, we've got government affairs experts, we have people like Rick on our team, and we bring you the broadcast every day. A lot of brain power goes into what we were going to provide you for this hour. We had Steve Scalise earlier on oil and gas, issue by issue by issue, so that you come away with this from this broadcast informed. We're not just recycling news over and over again throughout the day. It's something unique. We're even thinking now, topic by topic, how you can take something away from every 5 minutes, basically, you listen to this broadcast. And we're doing that with this issue. This is not an issue of just, it's wild pictures of Hunter Biden and it's trying to make Hunter Biden look bad. Joe Biden is mentioned in it. His brother's in the business deals with the spy chief of the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, so when you're taking, you got sports cars coming in from other oligarchs around the world. I mean, and the Ukrainian issue is right in the middle of this laptop. You got the guy who found the laptops now hiding out in Switzerland, afraid for his life.
Yeah. Now you put all that together, and you realize that this is. Listen, we had an entire impeachment over a phone call.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
over
laptop of data.
Phone call, and right, and with a smoking gun evidence was a phone call that was transcript was released, so everybody knew what was on the call. I mean, this is how the nature of we know this. This is the nature of the body politic. Rick, I want to switch gears for a minute here. We're about to have a disaster on the border again. Now the Biden administration is talking about giving what they're calling irregular migrants, people that come here illegally, giving them cell phones, literally giving them cell phones. And we're talking about 18,000, I guess, cell phones a day, because that's what they're talking about, numbers coming in, and lifting Title 42 at the same time. And there's bipartisan opposition to this, including bipartisan legislation saying, don't do this. Yet they're doing it.
One of the most frustrating things about this story and about the border is that the left and the Biden team is trying to paint people who call this out, and Republicans and Democrats and thoughtful people saying, why are you giving phones away to illegal people who are breaking the law? One of the most frustrating things is they somehow paint us as being, not nice, as being mean-spirited towards immigrants. And nothing could be further from the truth. You look at first and second generation Americans, they're supporting conservatives like never before. We are the most generous country in the world when it comes to immigration, and we love that. We just want people to follow the rule. You shouldn't reward people who break the law. You shouldn't reward people with a cell phone, especially when we've got border problems. Close the border and let's put the focus on those waiting in line and getting more people legally into the country through the rules rather than having line jumpers.
Yeah, Rick, as always, we appreciate everything you provide to us, both on the broadcast, behind the scenes as well.